Recipes and measuring. What kinds of foods do you enjoy? Your mother's chicken enchiladas or your dad's meatloaf may be your special favorite. During holidays, you and your family might prepare dishes that your grandparents and their parents cooked in the past. Do you know where your favorite recipes come from? A recipe is a set of directions used in preparing food. Recipes are written by cookbook authors, chefs, food magazine and newspaper editors, internet sites, family members, friends, and local charity and organizational groups. Perhaps your favorite cookies are made with a recipe handed down by your great-grandmother. Maybe your next-door neighbor shared a barbecue recipe with your family, or a local restaurant owner gave you a recipe for spaghetti. By trying different recipes, you will expand your food experiences and develop tastes and favorites. Selecting recipes usually begins with reading them. As you read a recipe, ask yourself these questions. Does this recipe sound good? Are these their foods that I like included? Are these new foods I want to try? Does everyone sharing the meal like the ingredients? How long will it take to prepare the recipe? Do I have enough time? Do I have all the equipment and ingredients I need to prepare the recipe? Should I understand all of the directions? Do I have the skills needed to do the job? If you are less experienced in the kitchen, try to find recipes with fewer ingredients and fewer steps. They're usually easier to prepare. When you cook, you can choose to make something from scratch. That is, put all the ingredients together yourself, or use a mix which contains most of all of the ingredients you need. In either case, you need to know how to measure and combine ingredients. Learning some basic abbreviations, equivalents, and measuring techniques will get you off to a good start. Sugar, flour, salt, and baking soda are dry ingredients. Use a dry measuring cup to measure a quarter cup or more. Hold the cup over wax paper, a dry paper towel, or the ingredients container. Spoon the ingredients into the cup and heap it a little over the top. Then level off the ingredients with the straight edge of a spatula or table knife. When measuring smaller amounts, use a measuring spoon the same way. When measuring flour and brown sugar, keep the following points in mind. Flour, brown sugar. To accurately measure brown sugar, pack the sugar firmly in the measuring cup. Water, milk, and oil are considered liquid ingredients and are measured in a liquid measuring cup, usually clear. For accurate measurements, put the cup on a flat surface and read the measurement at eye level. You can measure small amounts of liquid in measuring spoons. Simply fill the spoon to the brim. Sticks of margarine and butter have measurements marked on the wrapper to make it easier to measure the amounts needed. Each line represents 1 tablespoon. Each stick equals 1/2 cup. If you need just part of the stick, cut through the wrapper on the appropriate line. When using brands of butter that are in 8-ounce packages, this would not be the case. You would have to measure or weigh the amount called for in the recipe. Solid fats, such as shortening or margarine in a tub, are measured in a dry measuring cup. First, pack the fat into the cup, trying to avoid any air pockets. Then level it off. Use a plastic scraper to remove the fat from the cup. An abbreviation is a short form of a word. Abbreviations are used in recipes to save space. Most recipes you will use are written using customary measurements such as cups and tablespoons. Other recipes use metric measurements such as millimeters. It's best to use the correct measuring equipment, customary or metric, for the recipe you're following. You will also find it helpful to know some basic equivalents. Equivalents are amounts that are equal to each other. For example, 3 teaspoons are equal to 1 tablespoon. Equivalents come in handy when you are preparing a recipe. They are also helpful when you don't have the right measuring tool or if you've already used the one needed. This figure shows some abbreviation, units of measure, and equivalents commonly used in recipes. To celebrate her father's birthday, Sarah decided to make him dinner. The recipe Sarah wanted to make called for a 1/4 cup of chopped onions. Sarah looked in the refrigerator. I have 1 onion. Is that enough? What do you think? Deciding whether you have enough of certain ingredients to make a recipe can be tricky. Estimates are provided for some common ingredients. According to the chart, 1 onion is enough for Sarah to make her recipe. Certain words or terms have special meanings when used in food preparation. To prepare a recipe successfully, you'll need to pay careful attention to the terms of the recipe. Stir, blend, beat, whip, cream, cut in, fold, chop, mince, cube, dice, pare, grate, and shred. Baste, brush, coat, garnish, grease, season, drain. You don't always have to follow a recipe exactly as it is written. Sometimes you'll alter or change a recipe to increase or decrease the number of servings. You can also alter a recipe by substituting one ingredient for another or changing spices and herbs. Knowing how to alter recipes allows you more creativity in your food preparation. The yield is the amount of food or the number of servings a recipe makes. If you want more or fewer servings, you need to alter the recipe. Not all recipes can be altered successfully, but many can. To do this, put your math skills and knowledge of equivalent measurements to work. For example, if you're preparing a recipe that yields 8 servings, but you only want 4, follow these steps. Divide the number of servings you want by the original yield. Multiply the amount of ingredients by the number in step 1. Convert measurements as needed. Calculate the new amount for each ingredient in the recipe. To double a recipe, simply multiply the amount of each ingredient by 2. To triple it, multiply it by 3, and so on. Remember that increasing the number of servings requires larger pans. The baking or cooking time may also need to be increased for a larger number of servings. Have you ever been in the middle of preparing a recipe and suddenly discovered you were missing an ingredient? To avoid this situation, read through the ingredients list and make sure you have all the necessary items on hand before you begin preparing food. If you don't have an ingredient, you may be able to make a substitution. For example, if you are making oatmeal cookies and you don't have raisins, you could substitute nuts or dried cranberries for the raisins. Experienced cooks know that some ingredients can be used in place of others with good results. Some cookbooks list substitutions. When you first try a recipe, it's a good idea to follow the instructions closely. You have used the recipe, you may want to exercise your creativity and try some variations. You can begin by changing the seasonings and a few ingredients. If you are making pasta, you can add extra onion or garlic to the sauce for more punch. You can also add diced bell peppers or diced carrots to change the texture and taste and boost the nutrition. If you like meat in your sauce, you can add lean ground beef or ground turkey. To cut back on the fat for a healthier dish, you can substitute vegetable oil and olive oil for butter or margarine. Olive oil is delicious drizzled over vegetables. Vinegar makes a delicious and low-calorie salad dressing. Low-fat yogurt is a great replacement for sour cream and dips. What other things can you do to decrease the amount of fat in the food we eat? Chefs and test kitchens experts change recipes all the time. They are always developing new recipes and new approaches to eating. You could do the same in your own test kitchen. You can use your understanding of measuring, combining, and cooking terms to create dishes that will bring a new adventure to eating to your family dinner table.